The light, even though it has a beginning, it carries in it, Or Ein Sof is called Ein Sof. It itself is infinite. Why? Because it carries the quality of Ein Lo Tchila. It carries in it the quality of God himself that has no beginning, that only he can create Yesh Me'ain, something out of nothingness. Today is a good time in Teives. Chodesh Teives. Tes Zayin, Yud Zayin is Tov, and Chai Teives. It's the Tov of the winter. It's very special Tov. In any case, we are zoiche to learn together Be'ezras Hashem, Basi Legani, as preparation for Yud Shvat, Baruch Hashem, and I want to dedicate the shiur to the baby, the Tinok, Hatamim Shneo Zalman ben Rachel, that should have refuah shleima, and this learning should fortify and strengthen our hiskashrus to the Rebbe Melech HaMashiach and to the learning and the spreading of the Mayanos in a way that hopefully we will reveal new light this year, and with the help of the Rebbe, this learning should help to usher the Geula Amitis V'Ashleima internally and externally, take it from Biyad Mamash. And it should be for refuah shleima for all those who need, and all other brachos, begashmius and beruchnius, that anyone needs. The shiur should bless Klal Yisrael. Whatever tov there is in this shiur should be used for the blessings, begashmius and beruchnius for Klal Yisrael. I want to do the learning like this, Be'ezras Hashem, that we will begin the learning from what you have in there. I sent you the PDF. It will be page Yud, which means that we are going to do like this. We are going to begin with what how the Rebbe began the description of the Maimar Basi Legani. The first time he explained Os Yud Gimel. This is the fourth round, the Machzor HaRevi'i, the fourth time we are learning Basi Legani, the Maimar which is the spiritual tzava of the Frierdiker Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, the spiritual will, if you can call it, for our generation, the way it is explained and illuminated by the Torah of the Rebbe, Melech HaMashiach, in terms of unfolding the secrets of the Maimar and making it so relevant to our time in a revealed way. So we will begin with the Maimar from the Rebbe from Taf Shin Chaf Gimel, which is on page Yud, I think, in your booklet. And then we will get to, and we'll do only the first Os. In Os base, the Rebbe begins to explain the Os Yud Gimel of the original Maimar. So then we will stop after Os Aleph. We will learn the original Os, chapter Yud Gimel, the 13th chapter of Basi Legani from the previous Rebbe, and then we will go back to the way the Rebbe explains this Os. But I want to hakdama, the drawing of the backdrop for this Os Yud Gimel, which is the chapter of this year, to be the way the Rebbe makes this hakdama, to get us into the context of the discussion. I just want to say that the three prakim, as we will see. All right, let's begin, and then as we are learning, we will share whatever comes up. So page Yud Shvat Taf Shin Chaf Gimel, which is 63. 1963. Basi Legani אחוי קלה וכותב ח"כ אדמו"ר בעל ההילולה. דאיסא במדרש רבה במקומו לגני למקום שהיה עיקר דירתי בתחילה. I came, this is of course from Shir HaShirim, and I came to my garden, my sister, my bride, and the previous Rebbe writes, the Baal HaIlula, that his Yortzeit is Yud Shvat, Tafshin Yud, that it's brought in Medrash Rabbah in regarding this pasuk that Basi Legani doesn't just mean my garden, but Gnuni means where I live, where I dwell. That means that the main dwelling of the Elokus of the Shechina was in Tachtonim, was in the lower realm of creation. The Ikar Shechina betachtonim Haita. And then, so the original state of the world was that the aspect of godliness that interacts and dwells and reveals in the worlds, in the created worlds, which is called the Shechina, was mainly dwelling betachtonim, in our realm of existence. However, ועל ידי החטאים של זין הדורות מתחיל מחטא אדם הראשון, through the sins of the first 7 generations, beginning from the sin of Adam in the Garden of Eden, סילקו את השכינה מלמטה למעלה. As a result of these sins, the Shechina was pushed away from down up, back to the spiritual realms, from this world, from the physical world, and all the way to the 7th. And then, ואחר כך עמדו הצדיקים, מתחיל מאברהם אבינו והאבוס, then the righteous people stood up, beginning from Abraham, our father, and the other fathers, והורידו את השכינה מלמעלה למטה. And they brought down the Shechina from above back into this world, and that process culminated ad ki Moshe, and by Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses shehu hashvi'i, v'chol hashvi'in chavivin, who is the 7th, and all the 7ths are precious and dear. Horid et hashchina mirakia aleph la'aretz. He brought the Elokus from the first spiritual firmament to the earth. And that was in Matan Torah, when the Torah was given by Mount Sinai. ואז היה הציווי ועשו לי מקדש ושכנתי בסלחם. And then the Jewish people were received the divine commandment to make for God a sanctuary. And so God says to them, make me a sanctuary, ושכנתי בסלחם. And he instructs Moshe Rabbeinu to have the Jewish people make a sanctuary for God. So God says that I should dwell in them. Shehu inyan diras hashchina betachtonim, which is the expression of God's desire to have the dwelling, the home of godliness in the lowest realm of creation, in our world. Ve'omer, and how is it done? So the pasuk says, "V'shachanti b'sarcham davka." So Hashem says in the Torah that I should dwell in them. What does it mean in them? B'soch kol echad mi-Yisrael. That means that the Shechina first, in order to the Shechina, for Elokus to be brought and revealed into the world, it first has to be revealed in each and every one's heart. Ki hamshachas hashchina, in each and every Jew. Ki hamshachas hashchina lemata hi al yedei avodat Yisrael. Because bringing the Shechina down to this world is done through the work and the service of the Jewish people. And therefore it begins in everyone's soul, in everyone's inner world. And then from there it extends to the world. והעבודת בני ישראל היא, כמו שכתוב, ועשו לי מקדש, And what is the avoida of Bnei Israel? What is this avoida? So they are told to make for me, for God, a sanctuary, shehu asiyas hamishkan, which means at that time that Moses received, Moshe Rabbeinu received the divine command to build the sanctuary. That was the portable sanctuary, the Mishkan, the tabernacle. ועיקר המשכן היה מעשי שיטים עומדים. And the main structure of the tabernacle, the portable sanctuary that escorted Bnei Israel in the desert as a preparation for extending their work to the rest of the world after coming to the land of Israel and after being exiled to all over the world. So that was that sanctuary that was traveling with them in the desert was mainly made from Asei Shitim Omdim, from erect cedar trees or acacia trees, whatever the translation is. And they are called Shitim wood. ומבאר בארוחה בהמשך עניינו בעבודת השם. And the Frierdiker Rebbe, says the Rebbe, Shlita, explains in the Hemshech, through the sequence of the Maimarim of Basi Legani, what does it mean, the Mishkan, to make a Mishkan in the personal work that a person has to do with himself, because it all begins with oneself. So Shittim hu lashon shtus. The word Shittim means shtus. Shtus means insanity or losing the objective perspective or becoming so subjective that one thinks and behaves in a manner which is called shtus, like a folly, like it's off the path, the right path, and it is not sane, it's insane. Va'avodah, so that's the Atzei Shittim, and that's the initial condition of the world. And even the ego, the self, to be so fascinated by the world, by the externalities of the world, and to be pulled astray from many times from our center and from our true, authentic self. In any case, these are the Atzei Shittim, the Shittim woods, that the erected boards of Shittim that compose the structure of the Mishkan, and Shittim הוא לשון שטוס, והעבודה היא להפוך שטוס דלעומת זה, שטוס דעולם לשטוס דקדושה. And the work is to turn over and transform the shtus of ungodliness, the shtus of the world, the stupidity of the world, the insanity of the world, the unconsciousness of the world, to shtus the kedusha, to the subconsciousness or the sub-logic or the illogic of klipa, we have to transform and turn over to super logic of kedusha, shtus of kedusha, which means just as we fall in different kinds of traps of this world, when we find ourselves behaving in a way that is insane to whatever extent, in terms of what's right and what's wrong, what's good for us and what's not, what is authentic and what's not. So we find ourselves in these nefilot, in these fallings of klipa, of insanity, of shtus in this world very often, and that has to be turned over to superlogical behavior, which means a non-negotiable dedication to divinity, to godly, to holy matters. That is not based just on logical work, which is there has to be there too, but transcends. It has to be shtus de kedusha. It has to be insanity of holiness, which means superlogical, transcending logical, and completely throwing ourselves into our relationship with God in a manner that is not at all held back or constrained by the limitations of logic. And basically it's Mesirus Nefesh, what we call Mesirus Nefesh, altruism, giving oneself completely without any consideration of the ego on any level. וזה מה שנאמר, ועשית את הקרשים למשכן עצי שיטים עומדים. And this is what it means where the Torah tells us to make these boards for the tabernacle, for the mishkan, for the sanctuary, erect boards of shittim, shemin ha'atzei shittim na'asim ha'krashim, that from these shittim woods, the boards for the mishkan, the keresh, the boards of the mishkan, the krashim, are made. The keresh hu osiyos sheker. The mishkan, the tabernacle, is made of erected boards, locked to each other. And they are called, one is called keresh, many are called krashim. Kuf, reshin. And they are the same letters as the word sheker, which means the lie, the falsity of this world. So the avoida hi להפוך שקר העולם שיהיה קרש למשכן. To turn over and transform the falsity, the lie of the world that covers up over its truth. שיהיה קרש למשכן. That all these lies of the world in which we fall in the different traps of these lies, or the tempting lies of this world, the way it appears, denying its maker, concealing its maker, and so on and so forth, that will turn over and make into boards for the Mishkan, for the tabernacle. Binyan u'mishkan u'mikdash lo yisbarach. So we take every attitude, every philosophy, every type of consciousness of this world that opposes the truth of this world, that is connected to its maker and creator, and turning it over and making it into a sanctuary for holiness, for divinity. וכמו hu בעבודת האדם בפרט. And so it is in the personal work that each one does, in the divine personal service. שעל ידי עבודתו, that through the person working with himself and with the guidance and the light and the wisdom and the energy of Torah and mitzvahs, נעשה הוא משכן לו יזברך. The person becomes a sanctuary and a dwelling for God. Blessed be Him. ושכנתי בסוכם. And it's possible for each and every person to become a sanctuary in which God can dwell within each one, בסוך כל אחד ואחד, in a conscious way, in a revealed way. וזהו מה שאחת העבודות העיקריות במקדש, הוא עניין עבודת הקורבנות. And this is why one of the main services in the temple was the service of the sacrifices. שעניינה בעבודת האדם הוא קירוב הכוחות והאדם לאלוקות. That the sacrifices means elevating, refinement, and bringing closer all the human faculties to godliness. כמו שכתוב בבחיה, as it says in בחיה, עד שרזה דקורבנה עולה עד רזה דאין סוף. To the extent that Kabbalah teaches that the secrets of the sacrifices transcends all the way to the secret of the infinite himself. The korbanot reach God himself, because he's taking that which initially is all oriented around itself, which is the nature of our animalistic soul, of the animal in us, which is only interested in the here and the now and the me, and transforming it and burning it, the yeshus of it, the self-centeredness of it, and redirecting it all the way to Elokus, and that is represented by the burning of the sacrifices on the altar. ועל ידי זה ממשיך מלמעלה למטה. And when the person refines his ego internally and disciplines himself and trains himself to become more and more sensitive and less blocked by the physical pulls of this world and all the lusts that we have and so on and so forth, על ידי זה ממשיך מלמעלה למטה. Through that, the person brings down and draws from up down divinity and elokus, divine energy. דנחס רוח לפניי שאמרתי ונעשה רצוני. The sacrifices are associated with the divine statement that God makes, that it is nachas ruach lefanai. The sacrifices are a pleasure before me. They are so pleasing because amarti v'na'asa retzoni. I wanted and my wish is being done. I wished. What did Hashem wish? He's wished to, and he's wishing, and he wants to have a dira b'tachtonim. He wants to dwell within ourselves. And when we are refining our egos and turning it over and elevating it to divinity, then God's desire is done. And this great nachas to Hashem. I'm kind of going quite fast because we need to get after all to Ois Yud Gimel, and there's a lot of what the Rebbe brings around this Ois. We see how much we'll be able to cover. So therefore, I'm just reading through more or less, bringing us into the spirit of this year and through the Rebbe's guidance here, and then we will go more deep, Be'ezras Hashem. Vehine, now. These are all the Oisios until now, all the chapters until now. This is what the Rebbe describes now, until chapter 13. Vehine, now. Avoida zu, להפוך את שקר העולם ושטוס דלאום הזה, שיהיה משכן ומקדש לו יזבח, ושכנתי בסויכם. This work, this labor, this service, this divine work to turn over and transform the lie, the falsity of this world and the insanity of that which is ungodly and opposes godliness, to turn all this crazy world. Now, the Rebbe says that the Frierdiker Rebbe explains that כדי לעשות שמשקר העולם ושטוס דלאום הזה יהיה ושכנתי בסוכם. How do you do it? How do you transform this crazy world that doesn't acknowledge its maker, doesn't follow its maker, and so on, and all the insanities and the craziness and this world, even when it's not as crazy as today, and now is even more than ever? How do you change it over to become a world in which v'shachanti b'sarcham, that God will be able to dwell within human beings? So as the Rebbe said before in the first paragraph, it has to be done through Neshamos Yisrael. The Jewish people are like a bridge between God and the world. And therefore this work has to be done initially through them. הנה על זה היא המלחמה, שנעשס על ידי בני ישראל, שנקראים ציווס הוואי. On this is the war. There is a war that in which this world, as it is now, in the condition of shtus, has to be conquered by the sanity and even super sanity of kedusha, of holiness. It's a war. And this war, says the Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe, is done through the Jewish people that are called Tzivos Havai, the armies of Hashem. Uchefi shemevaer, and the Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe, explains that when the term tzava, Tzivos Hashem, army, tzava, actually the word tzava, שבתיבס tzava, ישנם ג' פירושים. That in the word tzava, there are three explanations, three meanings to the word tzava. שכולם ישנם בעבודת האדם, למלא שליחוס הקדוש ברוך הוא בעולמו. These are all present in the avodas ha'adam. What are the three meanings? Tzava, one tzava means chayil, like army, troops. Another one is the allocated time that is given to each one to fulfill his shlichus, his part in this war. Tzava milashon, a certain allocated time. And then tzava also milashon yofi, milashon beauty that is done out of the unifications of colors, the integration of colors. We all have to do it be'achdus, so it's done by each and every one, but at the same time, we are working as a tzava. That means that this work, this war has to be done through a real union between all the soldiers of God. ולאחר זה ממשיך ומסביר ומבאר, and then further on with the previous chapters that we learned, the Frierdiker Rebbe continues and explains and clarifies שבשעת המלחמה, הנה כדי לנצח במלחמה, מבזבז המלך את אוצרותיו, אוצרות יקרים, שבדרך כלל לא רק שאינו מבזבז אותם, אלא אפילו אינו מראה אותם. So the Frierdiker Rebbe explains that at the time of war, and we learned in the previous pakim that there is war and there is war. There are certain wars that the king conducts in order to accomplish certain goals in terms of what he wants to conquer and to gain and to add to his kingdom. But then there is a war that is nogea to the king because it's about the king himself, about an enemy that fights the king himself. This is about winning the war. And in that case, when it is about a war about winning or losing, about the king himself, then it's not about calculation anymore of how much to invest in order how much to gain. Then in this case, this is the type of war where the king splurges all the royal treasures, which usually not only they are not used and spent, they are not even shown. ולא רק האוצרות היקרים שנאספו בדור זה, not only the precious treasures, and we are talking about the divine treasures that were collected in this generation, אלא גם האוצרות שצברו אבותיו מדורי דורות. But also all the treasures that were gathered and collected through the forefathers of the king many generations back. All this the king is splurging and spending, showing and splurging in order to win the war. And it goes even further. When it comes to such war that we are now winning, that we are now ending, בעזרת השם, ועד שבעניין בזבוז האוצרות that regarding splurging the divine, the royal treasures, not only that the king spends his and splurges his treasures that were accumulated for generations and generations and not even shown, so precious and dear and royal they are. But it goes even further. In that is nichlal included also what? גם שהמלך מעמיד את עצמו בסכנה כביכול כדי לנצח במלחמה. It is the king himself, puts himself in danger, so to speak, which means he is risking his own life in order to win the war. We're talking about God. The Rebbe will explain what it means, how much God is risking to win this war of Dira B'Tachtonim. He gives everything. And the Rebbe will explain. That means all the way to Klippa that denies, not only doesn't objects and denies God. Even there God reveals himself, his light. This is what we're going to learn this year. והנה now, בשביל דלמטה בעבודת, בשביל נתינת האוצר מלמעלה, צריך להיות גם כלי למטה. Now, in order to give those divine treasures, all this divine spiritual nuclear energy, and this is an understatement, of course, just a metaphor, to be able to be handled correctly and to be integrated correctly and used correctly, a person has to be a keli for this, gam lemata, gam kli lemata. A person has to make a keli for it, lemata, down here as well. In order to bring such treasures from above, צריך להיות גם כלי למטה. A person has to be a vessel for it, a prepared vessel for such nuclear energy, for such divine revelations from below. שהוא עניין האוצר דלמטה בעבודת האדם. That is the treasure below. There is a treasure above, and there is a treasure below. The treasure above will be Or Ein Sof, which we began to learn about previously. That's the divine authentic revelation. That's the treasure that is made available to us. And the Rebbe taught that Or Ein Sof goes lemala ad en kates and lemata ad en tachlis. That this otzar shelemala, the divine treasure, goes up infinitely and down infinitely. And the real otzar is really the one that goes up infinitely. But in order to understand the real otzar that Hashem gives us, which is lemala mala ad en kates, which is the way the infinite light goes higher and higher in kates, the Rebbe had to explain what is Or Ein Sof lemata mata ad en tachlis. Or Ein Sof, the way it goes down infinitely. 3 prakim, 3 chapters the Rebbe spends on that. Yud Beis, Yud Gimel, and Yud Dalet. 12, 13, and 14. After that, we will go to Or Ein Sof lemala ad en kates. After we understand what it means, Or Ein Sof lemata ad en tachlis, the infinite light of God, lemata ad en tachlis, we will go to learn about Or Ein Sof lemala ad en kates. That means that you have 3 inyanim here. What is the otzar? The divine treasure. Number 1 is it is Or Ein Sof. And the Rebbe explained at length in the previous year. What does it mean, Or Ein Sof? It means that not the way some Mekubalim thought, that Or Ein Sof means that it's the light from Ein Sof, that God is Ein Sof, is infinite, and Or Ein Sof is a illumination from him, from that. No, says the Chassidus, and it's beginning with the Alter Rebbe, and the Rebbe, Melech HaMashiach, explains, as we learned at length also last year, that Or Ein Sof means that the light itself is infinite. Why? Because Or is me'ein ha'ma'or, and davuk ba'ma'or. The light is like the luminary, and attached to the luminary, and therefore the light, even though it has a beginning, it carries in it. Or Ein Sof is called Ein Sof. It itself is infinite. Why? Because it carries the quality of Ein Lo Tchila. It carries in it the quality of God himself that has no beginning, that only he can create Yesh Me'ain, something out of nothingness. But since the Or carries that quality, because it is reflecting the Ma'or, the Or Ein Sof can create as well. Yesh Me'ain. So we learned, first of all, what it means Or Ein Sof in depth last year. And then the Zohar says, Lemala ad en Ketz velemata ad en Tachlis. So there are three inyanim here. Or Ein Sof. So now we know that the Or itself is Ein Sof. The Or itself that we are all made of and surrounded by and in us and around us and us. This Or Ein Sof carries the same qualities of the Ma'or, of essence itself. And then there are the other two inyanim. Lemala ad en Ketz velemata ad en Tachlis. The real Otzar, as the Rebbe will say soon, is Lemala ad en Ketz, the essence of the treasure. But in order to understand Lemala ad en Ketz, infinitely going up, we need to understand Lemata ad en Tachlis. And began last year. 12, 13, and 14 are the chapters that discuss Lemata ad en Tachlis. And then the Rebbe will begin explaining what is Lemala ad en Ketz. And then the Rebbe will go back to understand, and that will actually conclude the description of the divine treasure, the divine Otzar. And then the Rebbe will explain that in order to reveal the Otzar Lemaila, you have to reveal the Otzar Lemata. You have to reveal the human treasure. What is a Jewish human treasure? That's the inyan of Kabbalas Ol, Mesiras Nefesh, Lemala Mitam Vadas. That's the Otzar of Yiras Shamayim within us, in which ego cannot play a role there at all. And we have it all, and we need to bring it up. So now let's get back to our discussion, what the Rebbe is saying here. A person has to be a keli for this Otzar Lemaila. A person has to be a keli Lemata. שזהו עניין האוצר דלמטה בעבודת האדם. This is the inyan of Otzar below in Avodas Adam. That will be in the further prakim. ומבאר, and the Rebbe explained, the Frierdiker Rebbe, שאף על פי שנשיא נעשה אוצרוסי על ידי פקידי החיל, that even though the chief commander, the king, spends the oitzaros through the commanders, so the generals and the commanders and the officers. However, הרי הכוונה בזה, the intention of the king is, הם אנשי החיל, the individual soldiers themselves on the field, on the battlefield, שהם דווקא עושים את הניצחון, זה דווקא the אנשי החיל, דווקא the simple soldiers like you and me, creating this victory. ומזה מובן, and from this is understood, שגם האוצר צריך להיות בכל אחד ואחד. That this Otsar, this special treasure, is not of human treasure, of total dedication and Mesiras Nefesh and altruism and selflessness and transcending the ego and so on and so forth and Kabbalah's all, is not just for the selected tzaddikim, righteous, elevated people. It's Anshei HaChayil. It's each and every soldier. That means kol echad ve'echad, each and every one of us. שהרי כל ישראל, אפילו אלו שאינם פקידי החיל, הם ציבוס הבית. Because all Yidden, even those that are not commanders and generals and officers, nevertheless, each and every Yid is a soldier in the armies of Hashem. Then the Rebbe says, ומתחיל לבאר עניין האוצר למעלה. Then, says the Rebbe, the previous Rebbe begins to explain what is this treasure above. על פי מאמר התיקון לזוהר, אור אין סוף למעלה עד אין קץ ולמטה עד אין תכלס. And this is according to the statement of Tikkun Zohar, Or Ein Sof, higher, infinitely higher, and infinite and higher, going higher and higher, infinitely, and lower, infinitely. As we explained. וכפי שמבאר בסיום ההמשך, as the previous Rebbe explains at the end of the sequence of Basi Legani of the Maimarim, שעניין האוצר הוא, that the עניין of the אוצר, this divine treasuries, הוא שאור אין סוף הוא למעלה מעלה עד אין קץ, that really the main treasuries Or Ein Sof למעלה מעלה עד אין קץ, the way it goes higher and higher infinitely, אלא שכדי להבין את העילוי דאור אין סוף למעלה עד אין קץ, but in order to understand the virtue and the מעלה, the advantage of אור אין סוף, the way it goes למעלה מעלה infinitely עד אין קץ, no end, מקדים לבאר העניין דלמטה מטה עד אין תכלס. The Frierdiker Rebbe first explains the idea of the way Or Ein Sof goes lemata mata, down below in no end. Shehu lemata ma'inyan de Or Ein Sof lemala ad en ketz. Which, as we have to have in mind, that Or Ein Sof lemata ad en tachlis is lower than the inyan of Or Ein Sof lemala ad en ketz. But first we have umaschil leba'er ha'inyan de lemata ad en tachlis. The Rebbe first begins by explaining the inyan of lemata Or Ein Sof going down, no end, and tachlis. כפי שהוא בעניין הסהבוס העולמוס. שזהו מה שנסבהר בסעיף השייך ליום ההילולה שלפני זה. How is the Or Ein Sof למטה עד אין תכליס? So far what we learned until the end of Ois Yud Beis, based according to what the previous Rebbe taught us, is that how do we see the Or Ein Sof goes lemata mata ad en tachlis? Ube'inyan hishabus ha'olamos. Is the Or Ein Sof goes down is to a creation of worlds, which means that we see that one thing, that how we see that Or Ein Sof goes lemata mata ad en tachlis, through how does it manifest? Through the creation of worlds. We see that Or Ein Sof creates worlds that are uncountable, in levels, from the highest spiritual Oilamos Ein Sof, worlds of infinity, and Atzilus, and even in Biyah, we learned last year that there is an expression in this Havus of infinite world. You cannot count how many creations are in the Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. You cannot count how many troops of angels and creations to the minute, and if you see smaller and smaller and smaller, there's no end to it. This Havus goes on and on and on and on. In this ois, the Rebbe will explain that that's not the only understanding of what it means, Or Ein Sof, lemata ad en tachlis. So one thing you could, if you learned what the Frierdiker Rebbe says, Or Ein Sof Lemata Ad Ein Tachlis, you could have thought that this is it, what we learned last year. That you see it in how it's expressed in the uncountable beings, sign levels and worlds and kinds, and you can't, there's no end to it. And size and shapes and colors and no end. But this is only the Ishavus, creation. The Rebbe in this ois will add, based on two words of the Rebbe, of the Frierdiker Rebbe, which are his Pashtus and Gilu, that not only Or Ein Sof, godliness, is operating and revealing itself through creating worlds infinitely, infinite worlds, but also his Pashtus and Gilui, that God's Or Ein Sof is extended and reveals and energizes infinitely as well. It's not about creating only, but revealing itself in creation. So one way to see Or Ein Sof Lemata Ad Ein Tachlis is how it can create lower and lower and lower and lower, and there's no end. Deeper than that, how he can reveal himself the way it is without any change in these worlds. And based on, as we see in the Frierdiker Rebbe, all the way to give chayus to Klippa. Like Paro, who used the divine bracha that Yaakov gave him for the Nilus, for the Or to come up, for the Nile to come up and to be blessed, the land of Egypt. And the whole time Yaakov was there, it was blessed. And he took it to magnify himself and make himself deity. I made myself. I made the Or, I made myself. The Or is I'm God. And who gives him the chayos to do it? God. Or Ein Sof Lemata Ad Ein Tachlis. And the Frierdiker Rebbe will teach us that we think it's just power, but we can find it in ourselves as well. How Or Ein Sof gives chayos to Klippa. Ad kedei kach Or Ein Sof is unlimited, and Lemata Ad Ein Tachlis, that it even gives chayos to Klippa, to forces that oppose godliness within our soul as well, as the Frierdiker Rebbe will teach us. Now we finished the first seif of the Rebbe's Basi Legani of Tafshin Chav Gimel, and in seif base, the Rebbe will begin to explain Ois Yud Gimel, the 13th chapter of the original Basi Legani. So now, in order to know the background for the Rebbe's explanation, let's, as quickly as we can, at least begin to learn the original Ois Yud Gimel, Tafshin Yud, 1950, from the previous Rebbe, and then we'll go back to Ois Yud base of the Rebbe, to Ois base of Tafshin Chav Gimel, the Rebbe. So scroll up back to page 9, you have the original Ois, the original chapter Yud Gimel of Basi Legani Tafshin Yud. So this is from the Frierdiker Rebbe. Vehine, now, ma sheomer lemata ad ein tachlis. What it says, lemata ad ein tachlis, that Or Ein Sof goes in unending downwards, kai al hagilui vaispashtus. That, says the Frierdiker Rebbe, refers not just its habus, as we say before, not just as he said in the previous chapter, that it is regarding creating unending infinite worlds, but also revelation, Gilui and Ispashtus. There's a difference between the two. Ispashtus means how far he extends his presence, and Gilui is how he reveals his presence. But we'll talk about it. The Rebbe will explain. שהוא בבחינת איספשטוס, בבחינת אין סוף ואין שיעור, ובלי גבול ממש עד למטה מטה. That means that Or Ein Sof, you could have thought that Or Ein Sof, it is itself, okay, we learned already that Or Ein Sof is Ein Sof. Why? Because Mi'ein HaMa'or. Fine. But we can still think that Or Ein Sof is infinite and unlimited, but its peulos, its activities, its impact, its effects, what it does, has limits. That's okay. Like Ha'ara, that's just a ray. No. The Rebbe is saying that it's not that Or Ein Sof is infinite, but from it shoots finite things. No. The Rebbe says that the fact that Or Ein Sof goes down no end, it refers to the Gilui and the Ispashtus, how much Or Ein Sof extends itself. It itself extended in a manner of Ein Sof, no end, ve'ein shiur, and no measure, ubli gvul, and no limit, mamash ad lemata mata. Very deep. במדרגות היותר אחרונות והיותר תחתונות. That means that Or Ein Sof, the way it is, no shinui, extends itself and its presence to the lowest levels of existence, the last and the lowest. That means even klipa. וזהו Or Ein Sof למטה עד אין תכלס. This is what it means, says the previous Rebbe. Or Ein Sof lemata, no end, how below it goes. She's pashtus ha'or b'vchinas Ein Sof ubli gvul klal. That the extension, how far the Or itself extends, is with no measure, no end. Ad madrega hayoter mata mata, to the lowest level. So now he explains. What's the Pele? The Rebbe will explain now. It's an amazing Pele. Because the Rebbe will say, regarding, you could see, there are basically three types of worlds. There is the Oilamos Ein Sof. I mean, there are various ways you can divide, make a chalukah of all worlds. You can do Oilamos Ein Sof before the Tzimtzum and then after the Tzimtzum. You can do after the Tzimtzum there, you can Oilamos Ein Sof, and then you have Atzilus, and then you have Bia. So in any case, however you turn it, regarding the highest worlds, it's not such a pele to think and to absorb the idea that Or Ein Sof extends itself and reveals itself in the highest worlds. And as the Rebbe will teach, even in Atzilus. But to think that Or Ein Sof extends itself the way it is, Ein Sof, Or Ein Sof, and the way it carries the qualities of the Ma'or, it itself is extended all the way down here in Oilamos Bia, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, that are created in a manner of nifrad, of separation from godliness. Yet Or Ein Sof is present in that consciousness, in that being, in that level of existence. That's a Pele. That we have to understand. In the Gvul. And that's what the Rebbe is saying here. Dehine Oilamos Ein Sof shelifnei hatzimtzum. The worlds of infinity before the Tzimtzum. Meaning the way Hashem envisioned the world in his mind. The way he is fully present in that vision, that's not Pele, right? How your own soul, the fact that, when you envision something, you didn't do it yet, you didn't start taking action about it, but you envision something that that you are going to create or something in your mind. So there's no wonder that your own soul, your own self is really invested one with and can be revealed in this vision. The question is afterwards, when all the details and all the actual physical things happen, will it be an expression of your essence? So that's what he's saying here. He says the Oilamos, the way they are before the Tzimtzum, the Oilam Atzilus, even Oilam Atzilus.
What? It's in a shutdown. How can we?
Even the Olam HaAtzilus, soon we will see the difference. Even Olam HaAtzilus, דשם מאיר האור אין סוף בגילוי. There, אור אין סוף shines בגילוי. הרי הם כלים לאור אין סוף. So why it's not a wonder? Because the Olamos Ein Sof and even the emanated worlds after the Tzimtzum, including Atzilus, it's no wonder that Or Ein Sof shines there. וכן אין פלא מה שהם יכולים לקבל. Oh, how do I say? I think I skipped here. It's so small, it's hard for me to see. הרי הם כלים לאור אין סוף, דלהיות זה גם הכלים, הרי הם אלוקוס ממש. So the worlds of infinity, including the world of Atzilus, in which Or Ein Sof shines in a revealed way, הרי הם, those worlds, are kelim leor Ein Sof, are the proper vessels for Or Ein Sof. Liyos de gam hakelim arei elokus mamash. Because in Atzilus, even in Atzilus, which is the lowest world of infinity, even the kelim of Atzilus are divinity, are elokus, are godliness. What do you mean the kelim of the Atzilus? What is the consciousness of Atzilus? One way to explain it. What is Kelim? Kelim is the Gvul. So in Atzilus, there's no Gvul Mamash. There's no real limit yet. It's Koyach HaGvul. It's a power of Gvul in Atzilus. That's the Kelim of Atzilus. So you see, with the power of Gvul, it's easier to see that the power of Gvul is just as the power of Bli Gvul, is an expression of Or Ein Sof. And Or Ein Sof has the power of infinity and has the power of infinitude. Both of them are infinite. Has infinite power of infinity and has the infinite power of finitude, to create finitude. Limit. But in Atzilus, what is Nirgash? It's all expression of Or Ein Sof. It's all one with Or Ein Sof. So even the Kelim in Atzilus are Elokus. And we know that the Kelim of Atzilus, they create Bria Yitzira Inasiya. They create our worlds. They are mamash godliness. V'im ken, and if this is the case, ein pele klal the ha'or Ein Sof meir sham begilu. Therefore, it is no wonder at all that Or Ein Sof shines there, including Atzilus, in a revealed way. וכן אין פלא מה שהם יכולים לקבל אור אין סוף הגלוי. And also it's no wonder that these worlds can, not only that God can extend itself to these worlds, but they can absorb, they can contain, it can be revealed. They can unite with him. Because they are Elokus Mamash. They can integrate this revelation. Aval olamos bia harei bchinas mata. However, the worlds of Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya are the lowest, what is called mata. They are really called low. They below. What does it mean, the below? לכלים דאצילוס הם כגופה לנשמסה, מה שאין כן ביה הם בחינס לבושים. So the Rebbe explains how so. The kelim of Atzilus are called the body for the soul. The kelim of the spheros in Bia, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya are called levushim, they are called garments. So the kelim of Atzilus to Or Ein Sof are like the body to the soul. The body of the union between the body and the soul is an amazing union, which means when the soul is in the body, the soul can reveal itself in the body. It means the body is alive. The body itself is alive. It's not like we said many times, it's not like a mixer or a robot that you plug it in and it moves, but it's not alive. When you plug the vacuum cleaner into the plug, into the outlet, and it vacuums. It's not alive. It moves, but it's not alive. Or it sucks, but it's not alive. It blends, but it's not alive. The body, when it hosts Or and Sof, this divine electricity becomes alive. And therefore the body is megala the nefesh, even though it's not the soul. Take the kelim of Atzilus are not God, yet not God, yet they are one with godliness. And therefore they are godly. And therefore they can create. Because they are like a guf al nishmasa, like the body to Or and Sof, the soul. They are one with Or and Sof. And Or and Sof can be revealed, like the soul can be revealed in the body. Ad kedei kach that I can look on your face and see something about you, or the body, and I can learn even before you do anything, you say anything, the body expresses itself. I can look at you and see something, or look in your eyes, or look in your face, see something about your soul. So much they are one, in many ways. However, the kelim of Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, they are called levushim. A levush is not part of the person. The body is part of the person, even though it's not the soul, but it's part of the person. The levush is not. The levush is separate. And therefore, for Or and Sof to reveal itself in something which cannot unite with it, in such a way, like a goof with a soul, but it's separate, that's a pele. מה שאין כבייה הם מבחינת לבושים, וכמבואר בפתח אליהו, דכמה לבושים תקינס לו. In Pasach Eliyahu it says that many לבושים, many garments are fixed to it, to Or and Sof, דכאי על בייה, it refers to בריאה יצירה ונסייה, שהם רק לבושים בלבד לאור הכלים דאצילוס. בייה are only levushim, the spheros of Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, which are not anymore the emanated worlds, but the created worlds. They are just like garments to the light of the kelim of Atzilus. Now the kelim of Atzilus, the light of the kelim of Atzilus become the soul of Bia. That's not the topic of the Maimon now, but it will be coming up a little bit when we understand how Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya are three types of garments. We will learn that Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya are levushim. They are called levushim. Just as we have three levushim, thought, speech, and garment, so do the divine man, Atzilus, has three levushim. Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, which are correlating to thought, speech, and action. Thought, speech, and action. You can understand this, and by this I will conclude for today. You can understand this in two ways. One way to understand how Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya are levushim to Atzilus, to the spheros of Atzilus, is like three layers of levushim. Let's say I want to cover my torso, my shoulders and my chest, my body, this part of the body, my torso. I can do it in three layers. I can wear a shirt, I can wear a sweater, and I can wear a coat. In this case, each levush will be further away from the person itself, from the body, right? And this is one way to understand Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. That Bria is the closest, and Yetzira is the further, and Asiya is the furthest. It's one way to understand, but it's not the only way to understand it. If the only way to understand it, you're incorrect. You also need to understand these three garments like the three areas of a person. There are the garments for the head, the garments for the torso, and the garments for the legs. So Bria is like the garment for the head, is the Ian of Chabad. Yetzira is the garment of the torso, corresponding to the Midos. And Asiya, which means is the garment for the Chabad of the Kelim of Atzilus, of the Or of Atzilus, and the Yetzira is the Levush for the Chagas, for the Midos of Atzilus, and Asiya is a Levush for the Malchus of Atzilus, for the feet of Atzilus. So Chabad of Atzilus, that's the Bria is Levush for that, it's like a hat, or any face cover, or head cover. And then Yetzira is like the levush for the torso, for the midos of Atzilus. And then Asiya is the levush of Malchus of Atzilus. Like the levush for the legs, like the pants or shoes. Now, if already we went to Welone Hasidus, so here it's not directly a topic of the Maimar here, but to understand that the Kelim of Atzilus are still godly. It's like the Atzilus are called the divine man, right? Adam HaElyon, the supreme man in Kabbalah. So Atzilus is like the God, how God made himself into a spiritual man, 10 spheros, which are made of Oros and Kelim. And we said that since the Kelim of Atzilus are so much one with the Oros, like a body with a soul, that the Kelim of Atzilus are still godly, and therefore they create. What do they create? Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. So now, what the Rebbe is calling here the Or of the Kelim. What's the Or of the Kelim? There's Or and the Kelim. What's the Or of the Kelim? The Or of the Kelim of Atzilus become the Spheros, the Or of Bia. The Kelim of Atzilus are becoming the soul, the Neshamas of Bria, of Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. How so? We learned about it before, at least some of you. How so? Those who follow good and those who don't worry about it at all. It's not going to interfere with your understanding of the Maimar. This is an extra thing. The Kelim of Atzilus, which are still godly and still create, as we learned, are 30. How so? Inner, middle, and external. These toch, there's a Rosh, Toch, and Sof. The Pnimi, the Emsai, and the Chitzoini. Every structure of spheres, of Kelim, or what they have, the inner, the middle, and the outer. And since there are 10, there are 10 inner, 10 middle, and 10 outer Kelim of Malchus of Atzilus, which creates Bia. The 10 inner Kelim of Malchus of Atzilus become the spheros of Bria. Becomes the Oros of the spheros of Bria. The Elokus of Bria. Every world, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, every world has a Elokus in it. Without spheros, without 10 spheros, no world can exist. And the 10 spheros are the divine energy in every creation, in every world. So, the 10 inner Kelim of Malchus of Atzilus are the 10 spheros of Bria, become the 10 spheros of the world of Bria. The 10 middle Kelim of Malchus of Atzilus become the 10 spheros of Yetzira. And the 10 outer Kelim of Malchus of Atzilus become the 10 spheros of Asiya. Now, these are all, you should expand your knowledge and also like expand it larochab, meaning that when you are learning about the certain concept in Hasidus, these are templates, like Rosh, Toch, and Sof. Rosh, Toch, and Sof is a subject, is a concept. The inner, the middle, the outer. Another way to say it in terms of spheros is Moechin, Midos, and Malchus. Rosh, Toch, and Sof. Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. Machshava, Dibur, Maaseh. These are all templates. Anyhow, the last thing we are stopping here, but the last thing that we are learning here is, let me go back into my sefer. It's easier for me to read here. So the Kelim of Atzilus are like a goof to the Neshama of the Oros of Atzilus. It is not the case of Biyah, and we learn in Pasach Eliyahu that in the Zohar that there are many levushim, that the spheros, which means the divine powers that create and animate Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, are to Or and Sof are levushim, other like garments, to the light of the Kelim of Atzilus, which are like the goof. The Kelim of Atzilus is like the body that is garbed and enclosed in the garments of Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. Uchemamar, as it says, Ima, the Zohar says, Ima ila mekanena bekursaya, Bina, the Bina of Atzilus. Where does it mekanen? Mekanen means mishon ken, it means nest, nesting. It nests in the world of Kursaya. We'll explain it next time. The world of Bria, and then that's the Moichin, the Midos will be Yetzira, and Malchus in Asiya. We'll go back to it next time. So I think we'll stop here, where it says, Uchemamar, after the parenthesis. Any questions, comments? So Imir Hashem, next week we will finish learning the original Os Yud Gimel, and then we'll go back to explanation of the Rebbe from Tafshin Chaf Gimel on how Or Ein Sof Lemata Mata Ad and Tachlis is present and revealed in our reality.